Hi, I'm Rachel, and this is my Would You Read It Challenge video of June 2024. So, the Would You Read It Challenge is a tag that was brought to BookTube by Ed2 Brody. The purpose of the tag is to take the first sentence of a variety of books you choose for whatever reason, and then discuss them with your audience and ask which books would you continue with. So I've been doing this tag for a while, except I've been expanding it to the first few paragraphs of books, to get a little bigger of a feel. And I have been using old ballots of the BookTube Prize as my template. So the BookTube Prize was brought to BookTube and the broader literary community online by Robert Sheard. The purpose is to judge the best of literary fiction and nonfiction published in the U.S. the year before. So we're currently judging for 2024 with 2023 releases. We are in the third of 4 rounds of judging, the semifinals. I'm actually not judging this round. This is the one round I sit out on. But for those who are judging, hopefully they're making good progress because we're getting near the halfway mark before their, ballots are due. But anyway, I'm going to take a look way back to 2021, Group C in fiction, for books that are perfectly okay to talk about publicly. I've read 2 of these books because they made it to the finals list that year. One of them, in fact, ended up winning the BookTube Prize for fiction altogether. And as for the other 4 books, this is my first time giving them a try in any capacity. So I'm going to go ahead and just, read those first few paragraphs, then share the book titles, and then give some broader thoughts. Starting with book number 1. I went to hear a man give a talk. The event was held on a college campus. The man is a professor, but he taught at a different school in another part of the country. He was a well-known author who, earlier that year, had won an international prize. But although that event was free and open to the public, the auditorium was only half full. I myself would not have been in the audience, I would not have even been in that town, had it not been for a coincidence. A friend of mine was being treated in a local hospital that specializes in treating her particular type of cancer. I had come to visit this friend, this very dear old friend whom I had not seen in several years, and whom, given the gravity of her illness, I might not see again. It was the 3rd week of September 2017. I had booked a room through Airbnb. The host was a retired librarian, a widow. From her profile, I also knew she was the mother of 4, the grandmother of 6, and that her hobbies included cooking and going to the theater. The apartment was clean and tidy and smelled faintly of cumin. The guest room was decorated in the way most people appear to have agreed will make a person feel at home. Plush area rugs, a bed with a hedge of pillows, and a plump down duvet, a small table holding a ceramic pitcher of dried flowers, and, on the nightstand, a stack of paperback mysteries. The kind of place where I never do feel at home, what most people call cozy. Je me look hygge. Others find stifling. Hope that I pronounced that correctly, but anyway, that is from What Are You Going Through by Sigrid Nunez. Book 2, Nateta Bugere, Uganda, May 1975. Until that night, Karabo had not cared about her. She was curious on occasion. Where is she? What does she look like? How does it feel to have a mother? That sort of thing. But whenever she asked about her and family said, "No one knows about her," in that never-mind way of large families, she dropped it. After all, she was with family and she was loved. But then, recently, her second self, the one who did mad things, had started to fly out of her body, and she had linked the 2. On this occasion, when she asked about her mother and her family fobbed her off again with, "Don't think about her, think about your grandparents and your father," something tore. It must have been the new suspicion. Maybe she doesn't want me because I am that cut like razors. And that was from A Girl is a Body of Water by Jennifer Nanusabuga Makumbi. Book 3. A boy is coming down a flight of stairs. The passage is narrow and twists back on itself. He takes each step slowly, sliding himself against the wall, his boots meeting each tread with a thud. Near the bottom, he pauses for a moment, looking back the way he has come. Then, suddenly resolute, he leaps the final 3 stairs, as is his habit. He stumbles as he lands, falling to his knees on the flagstone floor. It is a close, windless day in late summer, and the downstairs room is slashed by long strips of light. The sun glowers at him from outside, the window's lattice slabs of yellow set into the plaster. He gets up, rubbing his legs. He looks one way, up the stairs. He looks the other, unable to decide which way he should turn. The room is empty, the fire ruminating in its grate, orange embers below soft, spiraling smoke. His injured kneecaps throb in time with his heartbeat. He stands with one hand resting on the latch of the door to the stairs, the scuffed leather tip of his boot raised, poised for motion, for flight. His hair, light-colored, almost gold, rises up from his brow in tufts. There is no one here. And that was from Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. Book 4. At the farmhouse, the 3 friends asked each other where they went to at nights. They had finished most of their duties for the day and were sitting down on the floor together in the corner of a long room that had, 2 decades ago, held dances and lavish parties, but had now been converted into a ward. A ship, Pranny said. I'd go into a very large ship. Some place where there is a working fire, Pranny's younger sister Noy said, leaning back against the wall. A very large fireplace. Noy had been disappointed to learn that all the fireplaces in this house had been found sealed up when the doctors first arrived. Above them there was a gap in the ceiling where they could see 2 stars and the passing clouds. In front of them, at the end of the rows of cots, a woman tried to turn in her sleep, forgetting that her legs and torso had been eaten alive when she stepped on an unexploded cluster bomb 3 days ago. Then the woman remembered what happened, but she avoided looking down, watching instead the moonlight coming in through the tall windows that lined the far wall. And that was from Run Me to Earth by Paul Yoon. Book 5. 1. They burned down the market on the day Vivek Oji died. 2. If this story was a stack of photographs, the old kind, rounded at the corners and kept in albums under the glass and lace doilies of center tables and parlors across the country, it would start with Vivek's father, Chika. The first print of him would be riding a bus to the village to visit his mother. It would show him dangling an arm out the window, feeling the air push against his face and the breeze entering his smile. Chika was 20 and as tall as his mother, 6 feet of red skin and sun-touched clay hair, teeth like polished bones. The women on the bus looked openly at him, his white shirt billowing out from the back of his neck in a cloud, and they smiled and whispered among themselves, because they knew he was beautiful. He had looks that should have lived forever, features he passed down to Vivek. The teeth, the almond eyes, the smooth skin, features that died with Vivek. And that was from The Death of Vivek Oji by Akwaeke Emezi. And finally, Book 6. Well, the sun was shining. They felt that boded well. People turn any old thing into an omen. It was all just to say that no clouds were to be seen. The sun was where the sun always was. The sun, persistent and indifferent. Roads merged into one another. The traffic congealed. Their gray car was a bell jar, a microclimate. Air conditioning, the funk of adolescence, sweat, feet, sebum. Amanda's French shampoo, the rustle of debris, for there was always that. The car was Clay's domain, and he was lax enough that it accrued the talus of oats from the granola bars bought in bulk. The unexplained tube sock, a subscription insert from the New Yorker, a twisted tissue ossified with snot. That wisp of white plastic peeled from the back of a Band-Aid, who knows when. Kids were always needing a Band-Aid, pink skin splitting like the summer fruit. And that was from Leave the World Behind by Rumaan Alam. Okay, so I think I'll just go in order with my thoughts, starting with, what are you going through? I guess I had some mixed feelings because it feels like they started on a note of, really maybe some intriguing, openings to a story, like, a man giving a talk that's underappreciated, I guess, like maybe this guy is canceled or something. I mean, something might be up with that, and also the narrator wouldn't have been there anyway, so, it's like, maybe life going a little off course in that way, or then perhaps the more interesting dramatic part that's easier to, be dramatic about is the friend who's dying of cancer. But then, like, it goes into, a long meandering thing about, well, this is where I stayed at the Airbnb and the specifics of the room and the person, and it just, it's not as intriguing. It's like, I don't know, I just thought it was a little too much scene setting. Maybe get to the point. I don't know. Then we have book 2, which is A Girl is a Body of Water, and yeah, I mean, I think it has some promise. I guess the idea of, the main character not knowing who her mother is and her family, keeping it a secret. But I don't quite like the writing here. First of all, the too much she pronouns was too confusing to me sometimes about who was talking. And then other than that, I guess, again, it's a little bit meandering. I guess the main thing is we're supposed to get into the mindset of, I don't know if it's sort of a fabulism of like another self flying out of her, or if that's just metaphor about, growing up and being more, rambunctious or something. But anyway, that's what we're left with in the first couple paragraphs. And then book 3 is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell, which was the winner of the BookTube prize. And again, this is mostly scene setting. This is mostly Hamnet coming down the stairs in his grandfather's house. I enjoy the writing. I think the descriptions are strong. I guess, again, I tend to come to these videos and think I'd love a bit of exposition, but also a bit of dialogue and immediately starting a scene. And that's really not what's happening here either. This is mostly scene setting, but it is kind of nice to get this view of Hamnet, because once you read the story, well, I mean, he's alive for some of it, but he is, mostly dead, and it's about his parents' response to it, really. This is one of those books that was named for Hamnet, but could have more easily been named for his mother if you wanted to be accurate about who held the story together, but that's just me. It was I think, a really beautifully told novel in a lot of ways. Then book 4, going back to things I haven't read yet, Run Me to Earth by Paul Yoon. This one is probably, it's definitely the one that's the most what I said I wanted. There is some scene setting that we're in a farmhouse that has been converted into a doctor's ward, and then we have 2 people who are talking in real time, imagining themselves somewhere else, which gives the impression this is perhaps a pretty lonely and depressing place, and immediately we get proof of why, perhaps because one of the patients has recently stepped on a mine and has lost a lot of her body, so obviously things are very fraught, physically and emotionally. So yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways I think this book really did the trick. If I were to pick a new book to read from this list, that maybe this one would be the one. But I also do like some of the writing choices in book 6, Leave the World Behind. It is mostly, it's scene setting again, but there's a cadence to the writing that's a little more interesting than just your stereotypical descriptions of items in a room or in, in the car. But I mean, there's a little bit of that, but it starts with, well, the sun was shining, which gives it a little bit of personality, I thought. So I did appreciate that. So yeah, but otherwise it seems like we're stuck in traffic and the car has some personality, I'll say, and that's about what we know, it seems like, from that book. Editing Rachel here, and yikes, I forgot to talk about The Death of Vivek Oji and my thoughts about it, which was actually one of the books that I read for the BookTube Prize Finals in 2021. It made that finals list, and it is a really interesting tale. I think it gets a lot into queer identity as seen maybe through the cultural lens in Nigeria that Emeze was going for. In a way, I feel like that's also what the first pages are about, is kind of giving this a focus that's, less Western, maybe you could say, like, because, well, we know Vivek Oji is dead, and then we immediately go back to his father. And it isn't my favorite, frankly. I kind of just wish that we'd started with him and gotten to know him, even though it is, I guess, important to the story to maybe link to the past and all of that, but it wasn't as engaging as I would have hoped to just immediately jump back to random memories of his dad. But have you read any of these books? What are your thoughts if you've read them, or from, these first few paragraphs, what spoke to you? I'd love to hear your thoughts on these. But I guess that covers it for me now. And I will leave some links down below, links about the BookTube Prize and about EdTube Brody's channel, and to all of the books I mentioned, the Goodreads pages, and my reviews for the books I have read. And speaking of my reading, my next video should hopefully be my second damn reading video of the month now that June is slowly slinking past us. So stay tuned for that. Meanwhile, good luck to all of my BookTube Prize judges who are judging this round, and hope your reading is going well. Looking forward to the finalists announcement, and we'll know more about your thoughts on those books. And in the meantime, thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.